Those fires seem to add weight to some compelling conclusions in the latest State of the Climate report. More than 300 scientists from 48 countries contributed to the research, which found that the world is getting hotter. Globally, the last decade has been the warmest on record. And here in Australia, last year we experienced the second warmest year since records began in 1910. The hottest was 2005. Karl Braganza is the manager of the climate monitoring at Australia's National Climate Centre in Melbourne. He helped coordinate the Australian input to this global study.
The evidence is very compelling. It sort of really continues the evidence that we've been collecting over the last 35 years. There's been no significant change in that. This report and the summary for 2009 and early 2010 merely confirms what we've observed over the last few decades, that the climate system is warming up, and it's unequivocal.
Looking more closely at Australia then, 2009 of course was the year of those dreadful bushfires in Victoria. Was that a direct result of global warming?
Oh, you can't attribute an individual event to global warming. The weather system doesn't quite work that way, but what we've definitely seen over the last 10 years is an increased frequency of these very extreme heat waves, and we've had more hot weather and less cold weather. 2009 for Australia was the second warmest year on record, and the start of 2010 looks like it's going to be the warmest on record.
Now, the heat wave that produced Black Saturday was one of three heat waves in Australia that made it onto the list of extreme weather events for the year of 2009. Just talk us through some of the others.
Some of the others, I mean, we actually have weather that went the other way in 2009-10, so parts of the Northern Hemisphere actually experienced very cold weather, parts of North America, particularly the US, and parts of Europe. It's interesting to look at those weather events. If you look at the hemisphere as a whole, they had a warmer than average winter. Individual locations are very cold. So that's some of the confusion that people can feel when they look at the climate information and compare it to the weather that they've experienced.
And you said that 2010 is shaping up to be a warm year as well.
Globally and in Australia. In Australia, the second half of last year was the warmest such period on record, and the start to our year is the warmest on record. And even in the last week, if we look across the Pilbara and parts of the Northern Territory, they've broken their nighttime minimum records. And looking elsewhere in the globe this year, Eurasia has had a terrible heat wave. We got up to 53 in Pakistan. Moscow's been pushing 40, Beijing and Japan have been pushing 40. A lot of deaths associated with that, so yeah, the heat's been rolling on through this year.
Karl Braganza, thank you.
Thanks, Roz.